Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Reviews. Episode 16. 17, excuse me. It's not 16, 17. This one we're covering a story from John Pertwee's last year of the show. The third story of his fifth season. And believe it or not, the third to last story of his. This is Doctor Who, Death to the Daleks. Yes. This seriously happens. Yeah. Watching this one, basically, you obviously notice this episode's budget is barely there. Okay, so the Doctor and Sarah Jane try to go to a planet. Yes, a planet. To some kind of beach planet. And then they're taken to this particular planet. Oh yeah, by the way, Sarah Jane is wearing a 70s style women's swimsuit. Not bikini, mind you. No. Basically a two-piece swimsuit. Would look like the bottom piece, look like shorts. Basically when you think of a women's bikini. So they go outside. The place is fog and places an outside quarry. I'm like, what the heck is this? Now, I should point out, though, the writer of this, because it's a Dalek story, it's written by Terry Nation. Yep. By far, probably, in my opinion, his weakest Dalek story I've seen, overall. Because this story is kind of weak. Oh boy. We have Dalek self-destructing for absolutely stupid reasons. I'll get to that. And the way the Daleks show up in their spaceship, which look like a top you see one of those dishes. It looked like a pot top. That's what it looked like to me. And I'm thinking, that's your choice for a Dalek spaceship, a pot top. Well, it's a good thing in New Who we give them freaking flying saucers. So, apparently there is a energy dampener on the planet. They really don't explain this very well. And there's this big city that looks so nice and shiny. Sarah goes to it, and she's immediately ordered to be sacrificed because apparently it's against the rule. It's against their sacred law to go to this city or be even near it. And these people worship the city like a freaking god. Don't know why. Also, here's a question, though. Why the heck these people wear these cloaks look so freaking lazy? And somehow, some way, one of these guys sneak inside the TARDIS. Not kidding about that. And I do like the interesting camera angles they have for this thing. Yes. When they show Daleks, they give them sort of Dalek vision. I'm like, this is interesting. I never thought this is what the Daleks see. I'm like, okay, perfectly fine. It basically looks like tunnel vision, which I actually like this effect. This is actually perfectly fine. Too bad this is never used ever again, because next time you see the Daleks, they never use this at all in the following season in Genesis Daleks. So, basically the Doctor gets briefly captured by these creatures known as the Exelons. Why the heck they look like this? I don't know. Oh, and by the way, their costumes look freaking horrible. They can easily, they're basically pull-on masks. Wow. I'm thinking, no, this is the best you can do with a very tiny budget you have for this episode. Yeah, oh, and by the way, the TARDIS basically power shelf. Oh, and when the thing ends, do you see them actually leaving the planet? No, it's a very whimper ending. By the way, this is released from February 23rd, 1974 to March 16th, 1974. So, with this particular one, Doctor gets captured, but he gets away. Sarah Jane gets briefly separated from him. And of course, he runs into some crazy guy who's attacked with a knife. Lucky enough, one of the people who are there, presumably the second command of the unit, he says he's a captain, and yet their leader is a commander. Okay, if this was a Navy operation, wouldn't the captain be the one in charge and not the commander? I guess it's the future, so change that. Also, is it just me, or that, and I don't know if anybody ever noticed this whenever they watch it, they're basically their badges they wear on their shirts. They look like freaking Starfleet badges turned on their side. Yes, it's pretty much what it is. It's the same exact freaking design as the one from Star Trek. Of course, Star Trek came out like it actually ended about 5 years before the story aired, so it's possible that the people who made the story must have borrowed that design. Oh, and by the way, the uniforms for these people, blue jumpsuits. Yep, blue jumpsuits. And they have one of them has got a star on their shoulder. Okay, fine. And their commander apparently was attacked off screen. Oh yeah, and we never see the Earth spaceship actually land. It just is there. And at one point, the commander gets taken. Oh yeah, and they think this ship that arrives in the plane, I think that's their relation, because they relation like a while ago. They get to it, and it's Daleks, and they start firing, and all of a sudden, wait, why is there energy going? Off screen, no budget for it. On screen, it's because of the energy dampening the planet. So they agree to team up, and the Daleks apparently do know who the Doctor is. They have not forgotten him. Like, oh, it's the Doctor. We should probably kill him. We need to kill him, but we can't at the moment. Of course, they mentioned when they briefly with hostage, like, the Doctor is no enemy of ours. So they kept that there. Of course, the last time that the Doctor encountered the Daleks was when Joe Grant was here. Yes, Elizabeth Shaw never counted the Daleks. Nope, never did. The last couple times that the Daleks appeared was actually in Planet of Daleks. Yes, that was their last physical appearance. Part of this 1 year prior. Yep. 1 year prior. Mm-hmm. So, aside from the fact that you have Sarah first meeting the Daleks in the story, there's nothing really noteworthy about this one. It's like, the only noteworthy thing is that it's the last Dalek story in the John Pertwee era. Yeah, that's the only two noteworthy things about this one. And it's by far, like, people think Destiny Daleks is kind of bad. Oh boy, this one's freaking horrible. At least that one had a freaking budget for energy blast. Yeah, but the problem with that one was that when they were executing people, at least you heard the freaking sound effect. At least they had it. Oh, and by the way, people can kill in that one. They display no emotion. These actually are so freaking lazy. So yeah. By the way, how they overtake the actual people is okay. So they create what looks to be pellet guns, and it's oh yeah, this primitive thing is acceptable. Look like freaking bullets, and apparently this is acceptable. Okay, so they overthrow them, and of course they made them the freaking slaves to mine this particular element they need. Apparently the reason why they need it, they're on this planet because they need this particular element to help out millions of people who are suffering from this virus. And Daleks say they're here for kind of the same reason. Though it's later revealed they want to use as a bargaining chip in exchange for more power. So, when they go into the actual city itself, this is where I think a lot of the budget went. Because this city looks quite interesting. Even though the walls are quite bland, it's interesting, basically, on the story perspective. I think the writing here is actually pretty good. So, they go inside, they basically press a button, and they go inside. The Doctor, this other guy who's here, I don't remember his name here, the creature. What is his name here? I think his name is Golto, I think his name is. Oh, by the way, I had this red guy known as the High Priest. Yeah, he doesn't do anything at all. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the people who don't speak apparently just don't, like, these other creatures don't really speak a word at all. The High Priest, oh yeah, apparently it's a crime to attack the High Priest. Okay, that's really acceptable by basically going to the city itself and offering a sacrifice. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. So, when they get to the actual side city itself, so the first challenge is to basically solve Mace. With just basically point a finger around. I'm like, okay, that seems pretty simple enough. Alright. So, the second challenge is to, well, go past this particular trap floor, which they do. And they have to be hopscotch with the damn thing. Of course, they're also followed by two Daleks. And in the case of... Oh, by the way, how the Daleks are taking out this thing is quite interesting. Like, two of them take out these weird root state creatures. They didn't really explain what these things really are, the purpose of these things. Like one of them's taken on the underground, and the other one's taken on a high cliff. Yeah, and they also have one who they actually have the female hostage of the woman who's part of the school. Her name is Jill. They have her held hostage. It's quite obvious the younger one of the three because they actually have the captain get killed. Yeah, he gets killed, and of course Hamilton basically is automatically promoted to like the lead of the group because the commander's dead. He doesn't really do anything at all. He barely has any alliance. Like, yeah. So then of course one of the Daleks is taken out by simply, get this, having a bunch of primitives basically whack it to death with one of their weapons. I'm like, that's how you kill a Dalek. That is very lazy. Now, the root thing, I thought that was interesting because they kept whacking the thing really hard because it's metal on metal. And because they're not exactly fully powered, that's the reason they take out very much no problem at all. Yep. So, oh yeah, and like tradition, all Daleks are easily killed by the end of the story. Yep. Oh, and okay, so after getting through the third challenge, basically this empty room, which nearly involves the Doctor the guy he's with, nearly trying to kill each other. Well, luckily enough, basically they go inside, and we see this controller. Yes, who this guy is, never explained. He just basically just some guy who's here, and so need to destroy the city. So they get to the room finally, after basically going through a final battle, basically battle of the mental psyche, and they go in and they see the guy. They walk up to him and he just turns to ash. I'm like, okay, what was the purpose of this guy? And then with him gone, so they decided to just destroy the brain. We see these two mutants pop in out of nowhere. Yeah, Doctor said these are the antibodies. They said apparently the city's also alive. Yeah, the city was built to sustain itself, and then later on, apparently the city also inadvertently caused destruction to the people. Was some war, they basically destroyed themselves. So, eventually, of course, the city is destroyed. Well, it's like Doctor sabotage the place. They eventually fully destroy the place thanks to the military men planting explosives on the beacon. And that apparently destroys the whole damn city. Apparently, with that beacon down, everything's back normal. And luckily enough, one of them kept the explosive with them, go on the Dalek ship, and of course they explode, destroying the Daleks. And then we have the end in the most very anticlimactic way by having the city just turn to dissolving, and apparently it sounds like someone's dying with this very nice looking city. And it's like, well, there goes one of the 700 warriors. Now there's only 700 left. I'm like, that's how the thing ends. We have basically, it's a very weird style of ending for this one. Like, heck, they've had episode 3 and basically seeing a floor. Like, apparently, oh, this floor is here. Something mysterious about it. Like, is something scary going to happen? No, not really. By far, of the third Doctor stories reviewed so far, by the way, I've only reviewed 3 of them so far. This one, by far, is not very good. No. I do think that Elizabeth Sladen and John Pertwee do a great job in the story. They put on great performances. Though Sarah Jane doesn't do a lot in here, but it's fine. The Doctor doesn't do very much here at all because it's the very crappy budget they have. This one. Yep. What ranking do I get this one? I would say out of all the stories related to Dalek, this is by far worse than Destiny to Daleks. No, this came before Destiny to Daleks. Yeah, this came well before that one. Oh yeah, and by the way, they have this whole thing where it's set mostly in a cave. The first time he gets inside of a building is not until episode frickin' 4. We see briefly inside of a couple spaceships, but that's it. Most of the time it's either outside or in a cave. I'm like, wow, you're really stretching your basically no budget for this damn thing. I get this one, and here's a shocker, a 6 out of 10. By far the worst Dalek story I have ever watched. It is so bad. Destiny of Daleks is basically laughably bad, But at least they had some more special effects than this damn thing did. I mean, there's barely any at all. Like, oh, let's have a Dalek destroyed by, let's see, a self-destruct by having a prisoner escape or being whacked to death with by a primitive. At least two of them basically got reasonable deaths. Like, I think like one got killed by a couple mutants. That was like really strong mutants. At least two of them were killed by freaking roots. Yeah, these metal snake creatures. Yeah, that I thought was more interesting of a style of death. It's like the whole thing of like, oh, death to Dalek. Let's basically depower them and basically killed every one of them in very laughably bad fashion. Though at least two of them had basically very reasonable deaths. Yeah, and apparently the Daleks very easily cooperative, which is not normal for them. But I mean, the budget for the story. Yep. So yeah, as in the cover, whack. The only reason I got this because I like the Daleks. Yeah. Also, you want more laziness with this one? Like, okay, we see the back of one of these. It seems like one of the ships looks like it's falling down. Like someone basically almost like look like partially dropped their pants. I'm like, what the heck is this? So, the story is just not very good. Okay, the overall positives, the close of this video, the performances by the Doctor and Sarah Jane, their actors, John Pertwee and Elizabeth Sladen. I think they both do a fantastic job. The rest of the actors, well, the ones who are in the story, they do okay, but they're not as good as the other two. The Dalek Vision I thought was quite interesting. I thought it was a really cool effect. The Silver Daleks are quite interesting. I mean, the only problem with these Daleks is that can't tell who the leader is, but I like the look of the Daleks. They're fine. The way to utilize, well, oh, and by the way, this mimic you see in the cover, like, I'm looking at the cover of the book, and clearly looks like the energy weapon is firing, and yet you look at the cover of DVD, and it's not firing at all. I mean, look at this thing. It's like, okay, it's a very well put together picture for this DVD cover, but man, it's like, wow. Like the whole thing of death to Daleks. Yeah. Kill Daleks. Kill Daleks. Yeah. Luckily enough, when Terra Nation Genesis of Daleks, that was a heck of a lot better story to this piece of crap. Yeah. But yeah, John Pertwee does also crappy ones. So, yeah, there's that. Me. So that's a particular view. As for, excuse me, if any more videos come in say, well, I might do a Doctor Who video because I'll probably watch it online because I know a particular website that has it. So I'll have to watch it there. Which one? You'll find out when I get a chance to review it. It will be my 18th review for this one, and this should be a heck of a lot better than this thing. Yeah, still going to be John Pertwee. I'm going to go basically kind of at the beginning, but not his first story. Nope. But you'll find out exactly what it is when I get a chance to talk about it, okay? Next video. Bye.